Hola a todos. Hoy vamos a hablar del futuro simple en español. So we're going to talk about the simple future tense today in Spanish, right? Now, this is also called the future simple, right? And it's the most formal way that we express the future tense in Spanish. And by formal, I mean the most standard way, okay? As you know, we have the present tense and we have the near future. But this is the most standard form, right? This is the most standard way of expressing the future tense, right? And it will translate as will, right? So to form the simple future in Spanish, the following endings must be added to the infinitive of the verb. So that means that it does not matter whether the verb is IR, ER, or AR. These endings will be added to the infinitive, right? So we have yo, tú, has, él, ella, usted, a, and of course you must remember the tildes. Those are important. Nosotros, nosotras, hemos, vosotros, vosotras, eis, ellos, ellas, ustedes, han. All right? So those are the endings that must be placed at that must be attached to the infinitive. Okay? And of course you will put the ending that corresponds to the grammatical person. All right? So for example, montaré una empresa. I will start a business. Yeah. Nos despertaremos temprano. We will wake up early. As you see, if we have a reflexive verb, the reflexive verb, of course, has to go before the conjugated verb, right? Now, there are some verbs that are irregular in the simple future, and it is worth noting that these verbs are also irregular in the conditional, and the stem changes are the same. But of course, the endings will be different, right? So these 12 verbs are also irregular in the conditional, right? So, los verbos irregulares. So we have tenir, tendre, saldre, pondre, podre, quer, sabre, bendre, ar, cabre, abre, dire, and balger, right? So those are all the irregular verbs in the future, in the simple future, okay? So let's use an example of a verb, all right, of an irregular verb. Mi madre pondrá la mesa. My mother will set the table. Mi madre pondrá la mesa. Another example. Te diré la verdad. I will tell you the truth. Te diré la verdad. So those are just examples of two irregular verbs, okay? We have poner and we have decir, all right? So this is the conjugation and these are the irregular verbs. So now we are going to proceed to los usos. So we move on to los usos. And what you'll notice is that many of these uses are actually going to be similar to the uses of the near future. But there are some important differences, okay? And you'll also notice that. So the first context is going to be predictions about the future. So if we want to make a forecast, we use the simple future. Hará sol mañana. It will be sunny tomorrow. I would imagine that this is something that will be said by the weatherman, right? Hará sol mañana. We wouldn't want to hear lloverá mañana. It will rain tomorrow. Or hará mal tiempo mañana. The weather will be bad tomorrow. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear hará sol mañana. Okay? Yes. 2. To talk about the distant future. Now, with this usage, this is where we have the difference between the near future and the simple future. If we want to talk about an event that is further in time, that will take place a lot later in time, right? Then we use the simple future. The near future is going to be used when we're talking about an event that will happen very soon, right? So, el año que viene compraremos un carro. Next year we will buy a car. El año que viene means that we are talking about a year from now, which is a good time. Which is, I wouldn't say it's forever, but it is a pretty long time. So we should use the simple future, okay? 3, commands. And in this case, it would translate as shall. So this is for like very, very formal commands, right? Although this usage is not very popular, it's still important that you know, right? No matarás. You shall not kill. So these are like the commandments. This is like the tone of the commandments in the Bible, right? So no matarás, you shall not kill. So if you see the future tense being used to give commands, then you will know the reason that it is used that way, right? You shall not kill. 4, intentions for the future. So if we have a plan that we want to execute, we use the simple future. Miraré la película el sábado. I will watch the movie on Saturday. So that's just an intention. Something that I plan to do, right? So we move over to if statements. Now, when it comes to if statements, these are going to describe conditions, right? So in the first part, when we mention the condition, if we're going to use the future tense in the second part, then if you want to use the future tense to mention the consequence, the condition must be placed in the present tense, okay? So, si no estudias, suspenderás el examen. If you do not study, you will fail the exam. So, when it comes to grammar, when we're using these types of structures, the condition must be in the present tense, right? If the condition is in the future tense or the present tense, right? But if we wanted to use a conditional, then the condition has to be in the imperfect subjunctive. So just bear that in mind. If the condition is in the present tense, then the consequence must either be in the present tense or the future tense. Okay? That's something to bear in mind. And 6, assumptions or speculations about the present. Serán las 8. It will be 8 o'clock. So let us imagine that someone asks us for the time. ¿Qué hora es? Serán las 8. It will be 8 o'clock. What that means is that we are not really sure that it is 8 o'clock, but we think so. Okay? So we use the future tense to make speculations about the present. Another example. ¿Dónde está Mariana? Where is Mariana? Mariana estará en la iglesia. Mariana will be at church. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming based on where she was previously that she probably would be there now, right? So it's an assumption. So if we want to make an assumption about current events or about the present, we can use the simple future, right? So we've reached the end. Eso es todo por hoy. Espero que ustedes lo hayan entendido. Gracias por ver y hasta la vista.